Hello and welcome to your brow lamination course with Dollies. So the first thing you want to do is just make sure that your client's eyebrow hairs are completely free from dirt and excess oils before you start laminating their brows. You can do this by using a cotton pad and some micellar water or any cleanser that you can find that's oil free. So step 1, you want to brush up the client's eyebrows in the direction you want them to go, and then just trim away at any of the excessively long hairs that will look slightly out of place when you actually do the brow lamination. And then you want to start applying the glue. So apply the glue from the bottom of the client's brows and then brush upwards throughout the eyebrow hairs. This will then place the brows in the direction that you want them to go and will keep them in that place throughout the entire brow lamination process. So just brush them up, and then once you're done and the glue is dry, double check with your client that they're happy with the shape of their brows and that this is how they want them to be before you start the process. Because once you start, you can't go back on the shape that you've chosen from the beginning. Then you want to apply the lifting solution sparingly onto the eyebrows, making sure all the hairs are still in place. You want to make sure both brows are covered and have lots and lots of product on them, as this will help with the saturation of the eyebrows. So this is the section that will stick your client's eyebrow hairs upwards or will straighten them if your client has any curly eyebrow hairs. Once the brow hairs are completely covered in lifting solution, you want to apply cling film, creating a seal, and then you may even want to place a towel on top to lock in some heat. This allows the lifting solution to process and saturate through all the hairs. You want to leave this for 7 minutes, and do not leave it for too long or else it can frazzle and destroy the brow hairs. So after both brows have been covered for 7 minutes, you then want to peel them away and then just remove any of the excess of lifting solution left on the brows. You can do this by using a dry cotton pad. Don't use water during this process, as water will affect the lifting solution and how effective it will be during the rest of this process. Okay, so now that there is no lifting solution left on the brows, you want to then apply the setting solution the same way that you applied step 1. So this is now step 2. So you want to apply it in exactly the same way, obviously with a fresh earbud or applicator. And this is the process that you can leave for slightly longer, because this is what sets the brows up in the direction and will leave them slightly stiff so that the brows remain in that laminated way for a long time. So you want to do exactly the same thing where you cover them sparingly, and then you want to cover them up in a fresh piece of cling film again, and even place a towel on top again if you want to help lock in the heat. But with this section, you want to apply and leave on for about 10 to 12 minutes. Make sure that you've covered every single hair, because you don't want one odd hair dangling down when you've got the brow lamination finished at the end. So, and then cover it up nicely. Make sure that there's no sort of air pockets and that it's nicely sealed. And then you're done with step 2. Okay, so with step 3, it is slightly more complex. So you just want to peel away the same way you did with step 1. And then again, you want to remove any of the excessive product that you have from step 2 left on the brows. And if you don't have your brow wax and tint qualification, you're going to want to head over to that course now. Or if you do already have it, then feel free to continue to watch the video. So once all products have been removed from the brows, we'll then be applying tint and waxing the excessive hairs away to make sure that you have a slick finish during your brow lamination. So when applying the tint, use an applicator, and you want to apply the tint mainly at the bottom of the hairs, because you don't want a really block looking brow, because that's not what brow lamination is about. So you just want to apply it from the bottom of the brows and then brush the excessive amount of tint upwards into the hairs. Make sure you're nice and even with this, because you don't want to have any tint outside of the eyebrow line, because brow lamination is all about a strong finish. If you need to, you can clean up your lines with another applicator, just to help get rid of any of the excessive tint. Now obviously this client has less eyebrow than maybe the average person, so I will be using the tint to help enhance the size of her brows and to make them look like she has more eyebrow hairs than she actually has. So while the tint's developing, you want to go ahead and apply some wax, and you want to just go where the brow lamination process is not happening. So the brows should be still fairly thick, you're just getting the strays when it comes to waxing during a brow lamination, just because you want, again, that strong finish. So you just want to apply the wax while the tint is developing. You can do it in separate steps if you want, but I like to do it all in one. So just apply the wax and then get a wax strip. Make sure you're very careful. Press down, tighten the client's skin and pull away. So it's not affecting the tint or the brow lamination process, but it's just finishing and tidying up those brows for the nice finish at the end. You also don't want to wax the top part of the brows, because brow lamination is all about having a fluffy top part of the brow. So any waxing that you would normally do on the top, you don't want to do on this occasion. I'm just going to apply a little bit more tint that I might have removed from the client's eyebrow there, because again, she hasn't got a lot of hair at the ends. So we want to make sure that she's got a nice pointed finish at the end of her brow. I'm also going to tweeze any excessive ones, because we don't want to use too much wax as to anger the client's skin. So I'm just going to remove any excess ones using tweezers. And then we're going to remove the tint, as this client doesn't need the tint on for a particularly long time, as she's fairly fair skinned and stuff, so she doesn't need a super dark brow. However, if your client does ask for a dark brow, then feel free to use a slightly darker tint and leave it on for slightly longer. Okay, so now we're on to step 4. So with step 4, it's very similar to step 1 and 2. Obviously, I'm just double checking that I've got the wax and the brow all shaped correctly before I seal the brows for good. So in order to do this, you want to just make sure that the person's brows are the right shape for their face, which is what I'm doing now by using their nose and their eye to make sure that their brows are exactly the right shape for them. So you want to measure the arch, the inner and the outer corners just to make sure they're correct. I'm just doing this by using a powder so that I don't affect the brow lamination in any way. So now that that has been done, we just need to apply step 4, which is similar to 1 and 2, but you then apply the nourishing lotion and you apply that all over the brow generously. You don't need to start from the bottom or anything like that. You just coat the brow with the nourishing lotion. This is the final step of the brow lamination. This also helps to remove any excessive tint, but also locks in all the work that you've done so far, and helps create that finish that will last up to 6 to 8 weeks. So you want to leave that to soak for 2 or 3 minutes. And then you want to remove it with a dry cotton pad. Making sure there is no excess product left, as this is when you'll be showing your client the finished product. You want to make sure it looks nice and neat with no excess products just hanging around. And then I like to give them one final last brush just to make sure that everything is stuck down the way I want it and everything is all finished and all hairs have been saturated throughout the entire process. And there you go, that's brow lamination.